First, OpenAI's biggest threat isn't Claude or Sam Altman's vibes, it's something else entirely.
Then the OG of smell maxing has finally grown up, all thanks to a tiny new bottle.
And Milan didn't just win the Olympics, it officially won Brexit.
Jack, love the T-Boy mix. Let's hit the stories. This is Nick.
This is Jack.
It's Tuesday, T-Boy. Tuesday, February 24th. And today's pod is the best one yet. This is a T-Boy.
The top 3 pop business news stories you need to know today.
Let's start with the ugly stuff. Stocks tanked on tariff turbulence from President Trump. He jacked up his brand new tariffs from 10% to 15%.
He hasn't taken our advice yet to use the Supreme Court's decision as an off-ramp for his failed tariff policies.
Remember, Trump was tariff maxing, and then he got legally mocked by the Supremes, but
then he turned them back on.
But still, he might change his mind if stocks keep tanking, and we will hit our 3 fantastic stories.
Let's hit the news.
For our first story, we can say with certainty this week that the Sam Altman bubble has popped.
But it might not even matter, Nick.
Yeah, it may not even matter, Jack.
Because OpenAI's bigger threat isn't Gemini, Microsoft, Zuckerberg, or Anthropic.
Yeah.
It's something very different.
Is it Temu AI, Jack?
It's Temu AI, Nick.
Oh, Jack, could you please take us back 828 days ago? I believe that was November 23rd. What was going on, my friend?
That's when OpenAI suddenly fired Sam Altman for being, and I quote, not consistently candid in his communications with the board.
Oh, well, Jack, how's this for candid? Last week, Sam Altman said that AI is not the problem. You pesky human beings are.
He said that AI actually doesn't use much energy and water compared to the hog human beings, which use tons of energy and water.
Sit down, stand up, and spit out your LaCroix again. I'm sorry, Jack. The face of American AI has resorted to human shaming.
Yes, he has.
Stasties, if you're enjoying a Stanley Quencher mug right now, you're part of the problem.
Sam Altman also said last week that there's been more resistance to AI and culture and the economy than he expected.
Probably because of those comments that humans eat too much food and we breathe too much air.
I can't believe he's shaming us. That's his PR strategy.
One sec. Just trying to hold my breath on this one.
So Yetis, everybody's been wondering for like a year or two now whether AI is a bubble. Is Sam Altman's defensiveness a sign that maybe it is?
Feels like the water comment, maybe peak Altman. But besties, it's not just that Sam's mojo has popped. What we find fascinating is that if you're keeping track, his business ventures are kind of starting to pop too.
The information reported on Sunday that OpenAI's Project Stargate has gone nowhere in 13 months.
Jack, could you sprinkle on some context for us, please?
The day after President Trump was inaugurated last year, Sam Altman went to the White House and announced a $500 billion data center project.
Based on our research, the biggest, most expensive project ever announced. It kind of looks like a Star Wars planet.
But now he's squabbling with his partners, Nvidia and Oracle, over who's going to pay for what. No data centers have been built, and there's no path forward for Project Stargate.
Speaking of Nvidia, Jack, remember that deal to give OpenAI $100 billion so that OpenAI could then buy Nvidia chips?
That deal's been canceled too, Nick.
It has.
It's been replaced by a standard VC investment from Nvidia into OpenAI.
So besties, add it all up, and 2 of the biggest stories about AI last year, Stargate and OpenAI's circular deal with Nvidia, both effectively canceled.
The announcements got tons of fanfare.
Yeah, they did.
The cancellations have died quietly, but they're equally important.
Plus, Jack paused the pod. On top of all of that, the prettiest princess at the AI ball these days is Anthropic, is it not?
They won the Super Bowl. They launched Claude Code, which everyone's talking about. Anthropic seems to be the one getting Wall Street's glass slipper.
And make a Disney movie out of Anthropic. Still, though, OpenAI is on the verge of closing a $100 billion funding round at a $830 billion valuation.
Which I think would be an all-time record for any private company ever.
So Sam's vibes may be looking poor, but his balance sheet, it's still rich. So Jack, what's the takeaway for our water-drinking buddy, Sam Altman?
Meet China's new playbook. It's the same as their old playbook.
Yetis, funny thing we noticed. To celebrate the start of the Lunar New Year, all the Chinese tech companies launched their new AI models.
Alibaba, ByteDance, DeepSeek. They're basically our Amazon, Meta, and OpenAI.
And whatever those Chinese AI models lack in tech, they might make up for in price.
Because Yetis, get this. China's best AI models are available to Americans and US companies for 1/10 or 1/20th the price of the leading American versions.
I'm sorry, Jack, 90% of the value for 10% of the price? I mean, that is China's playbook to beat the US.
If Airbnb is paying $1 million a month for Anthropic, a Chinese version is just $100,000 a month.
Yeah, what this playbook is we call it Temu AI. And we've seen it before.
China did this back in the 80s to America's textile industry, then to our furniture industry, then footwear, toys, electronics, solar panels, electric cars.
And now China's doing it to AI. That's what CEOs, investors, policymakers, that's what they should be focused on. That's what they should worry about.
China's new AI playbook, it's the same as their old ones. Flood America with a cheaper version of the stuff we already have.
Or as we call it, Temu AI. For our second story, Axe Body Spray just revealed its comeback plan. Same product, just much less of it.
But should Axe grow up with its original millennial customer, or should it try to stay a teenager forever?
Jack and I will answer that question. But first, Yeti's strange story you may remember we did last year. Right, Jack? Do you remember this one?
Fragrance sales are at all-time highs, but the buyer would surprise you.
Yeah, something smelled off about this. Teen boys are driving a perfume boom, baby.
The trend is called smell maxing. Teens are putting on multiple fragrances per day. Different scents for different body parts.
And one brand in particular, they're feeling the FOMO in this smell maxing era.
Axe Body Spray. You smell it before you see it.
Oh, Axe. I mean, Jack, that's got to be the OG of smell maxing, right?
I mean, me plus high school, plus head-to-toe Under Armour, plus Axe Body Spray. Watch out, middle school dance floor.
Smell you before I see you, Jack. High school boys' locker rooms, yeah, they smelled like a New Jersey casino back in the day.
Because Axe Body Spray is a chemical weapon.
But here's the news. Axe is back. Well, actually, Axe never really left. Right, Jack?
Unilever announced in 2022 that Axe was the biggest men's fragrance brand in the world.
But here in the US, Axe has a new plan. Less is more.
They have a new bottle that's 25% smaller than the original bottle, but still somehow does 10% more spray applications.
And here's the key. The result is that each spritz is less Axe.
They're killing the Axe cloud with a more controlled, limited spray so you don't overdo it on yourself.
Basically, Jack, the pitch, no longer will you drown a potential mate in an aerosol vape cloud.
They're helping you help yourself with a bottle that will spray less Axe on you.
Yeah, you don't want to ruin the prom. But to sprinkle on some context here as a couple of ex-Axe users, Axe is actually more mature than you realize when you jump in T-Boy style.
Get this, the Axe brand is actually 43 years old. It's French, and it's owned today by a European company.
Unilever, they actually launched Axe back in 1983 in Paris. Très romantique, it's possible.
Then they expanded to the UK under the name Lynx because...
That sound effect was a big hit at the British boarding schools.
Then finally, in the year 2002, they launched in the United States, just in time for Nick's and my millennial puberty and for some controversially racy ad campaigns.
10 years later, we hit peak Axe, $500 million in sales, billion-dollar valuation, number one in the category with 24% market share.
1 out of 4 boys were spraying their chest with a scent of Axe every morning.
Because, besties, research shows that men under 18, there's a direct correlation between underconfidence and overfragrance.
The more Axe body spray you use, the more confident you feel.
Okay, but here's the problem. In the mid-2010s, Axe lost its dominance, right, Jack?
Its market share fell by 1/3 and sales fell by 30%.
You see, Axe was the king of the undercarriage, but now it was losing teens.
So here's their comeback strategy. Axe is making fun of itself.
That's the point of that new small bottle with less Axe spray.
They actually have like a 5-minute wait period after one spritz. You have to wait 5 minutes to spritz again.
Do they actually? I didn't see it.
No, it's a joke.
Okay, that's good. Well, Axe is acknowledging here that you used too much Axe. You overaxed.
So they've engineered the product so you don't overdo it.
No more sexualized ads. The new ones are all about having fun and making fun of the Axe stereotype. So, Jack... smells like our takeaway. What's the takeaway for our buddies over at Axe?
You can grow up with your audience or try to stay the same age.
Now, Yetis, last year, Jack and I did a whole episode of The Best Idea Yet on Harley Davidson, on how the bike company was ignoring millennials and just focusing on aging boomers.
Harley is a company that decided to grow with its audience. They were selling bikes to boomers when they were 40, and now they're selling bikes to boomers when they're 80.
But interestingly, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we've got Axe. They didn't grow with their millennial audience.
You see, there's a reason you wore Axe to the bar mitzvah or the middle school dance, but not to your wedding.
Yeah, instead of growing with their audience, Axe is staying the same age. They remained focused on teens.
Here's the catch. If you're going to focus on the same age, you need to adapt to the newer generations.
Exactly, Jack. You got to adapt from millennial teens to Gen Z teens to Gen Alpha teens. Each one is slightly different.
And that's what this new mini spray bottle can does. It adapts to the Gen Alpha teen, who's not protecting this house.
Because besties, you can grow up with your audience or you can try to stay the same age.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor.
For our third and final story, Milano didn't just win the Olympics. We think Milan also won something way bigger.
Because after 10 years, a huge winner of the Brexit vote is Milan, Italy.
But besties, let's start this story with the scoreboard. Jack, I'm whipping out the whiteboard over here. Team USA, I'm seeing a record 33 medals, 12 gold. Not too shabby.
And if you remove King Klæbo, that Norwegian wunderkind of Nordic skiing, then we actually tied with Norway at 12 golds each.
Not too shabby. Just like a round of applause for Team USA over here. Here we go, guys.
And the 2 hockey golds at the end was just insane.
Norwegians, fast on snow, not as fast on ice. But besties, Jack and I would argue that the goldiest of gold medals should actually go to Milan, the capital of Aperol.
This was the biggest moment for the city of Milan since Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper.
Yeah, if you know, you know. Now, some hate was going Milan's way going into these games, right, Jack?
Everyone was wondering, are these Italians going to be able to fix the hockey arena so that hockey can be played there on time?
Barely was the answer, by the way.
But it looked good.
Yeah, and Jack, so were the mountains, which look fantastic. I mean, the only thing that didn't land was the stuffed animals given to the silver medal winners.
Why give a bronze medal winner a little stuffed animal of some obscure animal?
But besties, what the triumphant Milan-Cortina Olympics really highlight to us is one decision made a decade ago, the decision of Brexit.
That's right. Britain's populist decision to exit the European Union 10 years ago was a gift to Milan.
And we got the data that'll make you choke on that panettone. But Yetis, to sprinkle on some context here, American tourists, they don't go to Milan like they go to Rome, Florence, or Amalfi, right, Jack?
Only Nick goes to Milan because he studied abroad in Italy.
Yeah, and I did some work that I can tell you, Milan is basically, and this isn't an insult to Italians, Milan is basically Italy's only modern European city.
Up there with London, Paris, and Amsterdam, right?
Exactly. And what makes Milan fascinating and unique is that it's not a one-industry town.
Milan is Italy's home of fashion, of design, of finance, of manufacturing, all in one city.
The way to think about it is Milan is the only place in Italy where you can see fashion models, financial models, and the original models of Ferrari.
And right after Brexit, Milan said to itself, hey, we're not getting the respect on the world stage we deserve, but maybe Brexit's an opportunity. So they made a strategic decision that kind of robbed Peter to pay Pietro.
You see, in 2017, Italy introduces the flat tax. And what's that, Jack?
No matter what your income, they welcomed foreigners to come to Milan, and you'll only pay 100,000 euros in taxes.
This law became known as the Cristiano Ronaldo law, and the interesting reason why.
I think he had like $100 million salary, right?
Yeah.
And he only paid 100,000 euros in taxes. That's less than 1%.
Because he was playing soccer in Italy. Now, Yetis, that flat max tax for rich people doubled to 200,000 euros in 2024, but still it was music to oligarchs' arrears who feel unwanted in a post-Brexit Britain.
So that's why the billionaires came to Milan. But why did businesses come to Milan?
Well, Jack, those businesses still needed to be within the European Union and the euro area for visa, tariff, and customs reasons.
Goldman Sachs, Citibank, JP Morgan, they all moved London-based traders to Milan to be within the European Union.
From Canary Wharf to the Corso. And those banks attracted venture capitalists who attracted startups like, have you ever heard of the business Bending Spoons?
I hadn't until recently when they acquired AOL, Vimeo, Eventbrite, Evernote. Bending Spoons is now an $11 billion company based in Milan.
But within the European Union, Milan's competitive advantage is its lifestyle.
Get this. Nick's like a travel agent from Milan at this point. Milan is 1 hour from beautiful Lake Como, where James Bond was in Casino Royale. It's 1 hour from the Alps, where the Olympics just happened. And it's 1 hour from your dream honeymoon on the Italian Riviera.
What you're saying, Jack, is that after your morning espresso, you could go skiing, you could go swimming, you could go shopping all in one day.
And the result? Now Milan has Europe's hottest housing market, according to the Wall Street Journal.
And they just stuck the landing on the Olympics. Basically, Milan's economy is going Gucci, London's is looking a little more Fucci.
That's why we'll trade a pint for a spritz and just say it. Milan won Brexit.
Certo. So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over in Milan?
Finance is a zero-sum game. For every credit, there's always a debit.
Yetis, we got more receipts here. London's unemployment rate, it's actually up from 10 years ago, while Milan's is down.
Milan wasn't the only beneficiary of Brexit. London's mayor said that Brexit cost London 40,000 banking jobs. A lot of those went to Dublin, Luxembourg, Paris, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam too.
But as London's financial industry and real estate lost value from Brexit, Milan's gained the most.
So what we learn here is that what's true on financial statements is also true in the finance industry.
For every debit, a credit. For every buy, a sell. For every asset, a liability. Jack, could you whip up the takeaways for us for T-Boy Tuesday?
Unilever's Axe body spray is adapting to today's teens with a bottle that will reduce the flow.
Axe, they're not growing with its OG millennial customer, us. They're adapting to the Gen Alpha teen.
For our second story, Sam Altman's looking more defensive than ever as his business hits speed bumps.
Put down that LaCroix over there, Jack. No more spindrift for you. But his biggest competition ain't Anthropic. It's Chinese AI. That is 90% as good for 10% the price. It's Temu AI.
And our third and final story is Milan, the true winner of the 2026 Olympic Games, but give the assist to the Brexit vote.
Because in finance, for every debit, there is a credit.
But besties, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, as we mentioned at the top of the pod, Trump raised the 10% global tariff that he announced on Friday to 15%. His response to the Supreme Court is more tariff maxing.
That's why the Supreme Court's decision didn't provide clarity, just more uncertainty.
Yeah, the status of tariff refunds and deals reached with foreign countries, those are still both huge questions.
Tonight, he'll do the State of the Union, where the Supreme Court justices that he calls disloyal will be seated right in front of him.
And second, Burger King just launched a phone number to call their president directly with complaints. True story.
The commercial said flame grilled. I went in there. I didn't see a flame anywhere. Was this just microwaved? What's going on?
I want to speak to a manager. I want to speak to the president. Get this. The number is 305-874-0520. And the president of Burger King will be taking calls 4 hours a day for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, not 24/7. Not by any means.
Yeah, it's kind of a message to the whole Burger King team. If we mess up, guys, I'm going to hear about this.
And finally, Goldman Sachs just launched an AI-free stock market index.
Yeah, it's a Luddite fund. The old economy stocks only. Basically, the stuff your dad would have invested in 50 years ago. That's this.
This XAI index is only up 32% in the last 3 years. It massively trails the S&P 500.
Okay, but here's the pitch. If AI is a bubble, then this anti-AI fund could win the next few years. This is a hedge. Now time for the best fact yet. This one an answer to Monday's T-Boy Trivia. Jack, are you ready for this?
Yeah, what was the question again?
Question was, which American president holds the record for most handshakes ever given? Who is the president and what was the number of hands?
It was President Teddy Roosevelt. And the reason it makes sense is not just that he's an affable guy who loved interacting with people. This man, Nick, I'm reading a book about him right now. He held so many offices. The number of hands he must have shaken is unreal. He was a state representative for New York. He was the police commissioner for New York City. He was the Secretary of War. He was the governor of New York. He was the vice president and the president for 2 separate terms.
Can't wave. Those are all handshake positions. In fact, one day at the White House in 1907, TR shook 8,510 hands, a presidential record.
That's also a journalistic record because someone must have counted all those handshakes.
If any CEOs out there want to beat the record, 8,511, it's your gain. Yetis, you are looking fantastic for T-Boy Tuesday. Jack, you are glowing before the flight. Actually, I'm going to the airport in 10 minutes. I got to upload the files for the pod.
I'm Austin bound as well. I'm actually dropping the family off in Florida before going to Austin. So I have a lot of flights to check into right now.
You're points maxing right now, aren't you?
I am. But I'm also bringing my dog. And they don't do frequent flyer miles yet.
It's a write-off. There we go. We'll figure it out. Besties, we can't wait to see you for the live show this week in Austin. In the meantime, holding off on the water to celebrate the wins. And before we go, a happy birthday to Yetis Alexandra Tunney and Ben Tunney in Greenwich, Connecticut. Back-to-back sibling birthdays up there.
Happy birthday to Tam Scheuer in New York City.
And Tomas Moreno, enjoy the birthday down in Jacksonville, Florida. That 7th one, that's a fantastic one.
Happy birthday to Vishnu Morale in Boston, Massachusetts.
Just outside Boston. And Crystal Kafati, enjoy the birthday down in Honduras.
Happy birthday to Ellie Sinon, who's playing Pearl the Octopus in the school play and having the best birthday yet in Bristow, Virginia.
And Albert and Veronica, we see your anniversary in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Enjoy the Sally.
And congratulations to Kath Tomer, crushing the 2026 SaaS sales competition just outside Boston and having a baby.